Step 6, here we go. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Wow. Jeepers creepers, man. We're entirely ready. I'm ready to have God, that power greater than me, remove all these defects of character. Take it all away. What an idea, man. And I'm going to land on the opening statement right here. Check this one out. Got to get my glasses. Oh, man, I'm just so excited today. It's a birthday in our house, man. So we are definitely crushing the birthday stuff. There we go. Got him up. This is the step that separates the men from the boys. If you're in this brain, and I don't suggest you take too much time. If you are, get the heck out. It's this beautiful idea because here we are, 1953, separates the men from the boys. For me now, the person I am today, it's such a chauvinistic and misogynistic idea. Like, it's so male, masculine oriented to say such a thing or to write such a thing. And yet, step 6 is progress, not perfection, man. So, way back then in 1953, some in today's day and age would take this misogynistic, masculine, chauvinistic statement, men from the boys, that innocently leaves behind so many other people, and just label it as that and completely dismiss it. And yet in step 6, we're talking about progress, not perfection. Jump ahead, it's 2022, and here I am, third generation, second in recovery, and I'm the guy telling you, like, we need to be open. We need to recognize that these guys didn't know. It was innocent. They didn't understand. They were trying to share an idea with the language that they had back then, right? Of course, I would not say separates the men from the boys. That's not me. You know, I would certainly want to find a different way to word that. Yet, I appreciate the passion in that statement. I appreciate that, without question, step 6 is that step that we recognize all of AA's successes and certainly those that failed. They can all be found right here in step 6. I want to go backwards a little bit and kind of talk about the previous steps because we kind of do that here a little bit in the 12 and 12. We talk about how step 1 is that one step we have to land on 100%. We can't short that one. We can't half measure that one. We got to get it. The remaining steps are all about willingness. We need to be willing to appreciate that in the same way alcohol ruled our lives, our addictions controlled us completely and left our lives completely unmanageable, beyond our control, tattered, torn, and destroyed. This power that these addictions and alcohol had over us completely decimated us. In the same way, if we submit to the idea and bring a willingness to the idea that certainly in these rooms, among these people, there is a power that's superior to us, greater than us, and that power may be able to restore us to some sort of stability in our lives. And then through that realization and that acceptance of that idea, we push forward to find faith and belief in that power that's greater than us, that will restore us to some sort of stability in our lives. We find faith in that power, and we for the first time maybe understand that there's faith that works. Then we start doing the work, and we start putting to paper, pen and paper, those things that brought us to this moment in our lives, those things that brought us to this place of brokenness. And in there we find strengths as well, strengths that we didn't even really know we had. And then we understand for the first time ever that person to person, human being to human being, we can talk about this stuff and we can share it openly. And it doesn't have to have power over us anymore. We could submit to that power that's greater than us and have faith in that power that's greater than us to remove the power that these other things had and the control that they had over us. And we can find freedom and we can find peace and joy. Getting to that place, we land at step 6. And at step 6, we can understand for the first time that just the basic willingness to have God, as we understand God, just put that name out there. God, it's an accepted name that people use to describe a faith or an understanding of faith. At step 6, we're ready to understand that that power greater than us can remove that obsession for addiction and addictive behaviors. But then we start to appreciate that, man, all of those things we've seen in step 4 and still more that are coming down the pipe that we didn't even understand. That's a heck of a task. Does God really have the power to remove all of them? Well, I don't know, but I do know, and I can absolutely express to you here today that I had spent too many years of my life struggling with every resource at my disposal to turn it around. And it wasn't until I landed in the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous and submitted to that power greater than myself that the obsession was gone. And exactly as it's written in this book, it vanished. I won't get into a whole lot of my own personal story here right now, but suffice to say that the things I'm able and capable of doing here in my own home for my wife and my children, completely devoid of any obsession to consume alcohol, to use any mind-altering or mood-changing substance. It's remarkable that I can exist in the environment that I do when my children are playing shows at venues where this stuff runs freely. It is remarkable to me to this day that I can be in these places and in these environments and around these people, and the obsession is gone. I have none. I have moments, absolutely. I have weaknesses because I'm a human being, but the obsession to go backwards and to pick up these substances doesn't exist in me anymore. And that by itself is a God-given gift for me. I wrote down here as one of my talking points, and this I think speaks to a lot of AA's successes and AA's failures. Imagine trying to convince an atheist that God did what no one else could. That is an absolute reality for me. I have, and you can check online and see some of the blogging that I had done years ago. I had too many arguments that damaged my family in a long and unfortunately painful way regarding this exact topic, trying to share my experience that, for me, the success that I've enjoyed in Alcoholics Anonymous is a God-given gift. And having an argument with a person who refused to, at the very least, give me the freedom to believe that about myself. This person had spent quite a bit of energy trying to impress upon me the importance that I take that for myself when I in no way could possibly. I had spent a lifetime trying to do it myself and couldn't. So I land on that point. Was God, a power greater than myself, able to remove this obsession from me? Absolutely. Remove this defective character from me? Absolutely. Is God then going to leave me white as snow, as it reads in the 12 and 12? Probably not. And I come back to my family doctor talking to me about quitting smoking. I sat in his office and I wanted to quit smoking. I wanted to quit swearing. I wanted to quit all of these things. And he was like, Stacy, whoa, when it becomes just as important not to smoke as it currently is not to drink, you won't look back. And he was 100% right. I still to this day drop too many F-bombs. I wish I could stop, and I wish that would leave me completely. I don't know that it ever will, though. It's about progress and not perfection. And I'm going to hit a couple other talking points as I try and wrap this up, because I'm looking at this and I'm already about 11 minutes in. Steps 3 to 12 are about progress, not perfection. I think that's one of the things that we hear around the tables all the time, and it speaks volumes to these steps, specifically step 6. Certainly we arrive at step 6 and we recognize the work that our faith has done for us already. And it's a daunting task to think that we have this massive list we've just looked at in step 4, or maybe it's a short list, or maybe some of those things are just difficulties that have plagued us. But does God have the power to remove all of these things? God's removed the obsession for alcohol, so quite possibly he does. But again, I mean, this is progress, not perfection. This is about us setting a goal and working toward that goal. And if we're making steps forward, then we're improving, and we're human beings. So what else could we truly hope for? I didn't want to get into a big psychoanalyst kind of idea here, because obviously in the 12 and 12, there's far more information than I'm going to be able to provide here, and it really starts to discuss some of these ideas. But when we're talking about these defects of character, I thought it was worth pointing out that when we get into the nitty-gritty of really trying to have this stuff removed and really work toward being the best version of ourselves, we start to recognize that we're not necessarily willing to let go a lot of this stuff, right? and so I made some points here that I've kind of paraphrased. We enjoy, we have to come to admit that we enjoy being the smartest person in the room. If a conversation is flowing one way and we recognize pretty early on that we're probably the best versed in this specific topic, it's a good feeling to know that we're the smartest person in the room. Does that make us boastful? Well, it's a potential defect, but again, we're talking about progress, not perfection, right? It feels good to be the best at a game or the best dressed at any event. It feels good to know that, we have a little bit of sway with our little group of friends, or maybe we have a little bit of sway with the opposite sex. These things all speak to being, boastful or lustful. And at the end of the day, the awareness is what we're striving for. And if we're aware of our defects and we're working to improve them, that's the readiness, that's the willingness, that's being entirely ready to trust that God, as we understand God, will do that work in our lives for us. I landed on one as I was reading the book that I'm not exactly proud of, but the self-righteous anger. That's one that plagues me to this day. Having lived with my wife for 25 years of her multiple sclerosis diagnosis, the knowledge that I have of this part of her life and how we keep her safe is the kind of knowledge I wouldn't wish on a worst enemy. And so you can imagine, I'm sure, that in today's day and age, in the midst of a global pandemic. There's specific behaviors and safe practices that we've enjoyed here and have employed here for 25 years that are getting a lot of press in social media and major media channels. My ability to rise to a level of self-righteous anger in these arguments and in these discussions should be pretty glaringly obvious, and it's one that has come to the surface too many times to count recently. And again, I've continually made those posts. I'm not going to shitpost anymore. I'm not going to shitpost anymore. If you've watched these videos, I've fallen victim to giving in and shitposting. Progress, not perfection, right? And that's where we land on step 6. It's a willingness, man. And it's my hope for you guys that if you've made it to step 6, you kind of pick up what I'm putting down. It definitely separates, the winners from those that aren't necessarily doing well. That's for sure. And it's anchored in our faith. It really is. I believe that deeply. If we're doing the work and we're connecting with a power greater than ourselves, and we're seeing the work that's starting to happen, and we're seeing the changes that are starting to take place in ourselves, then this is the one where we really start to grind on, and we really start to move toward that newest version of ourselves. So with that, I'm going to hit the stop button. I'm going to put this one in the books, and I'm going to say thanks, guys. I got a birthday to celebrate, and man, oh man, it's a busy household today, so that's a good thing. And I'm so excited to be part of this, man, to be part of this family. This is the gift that I feel I have been so richly blessed with, man. To be a dad, to be a husband, to have this kind of stuff in front of me to share with you guys, man. So I'm excited to celebrate today, and you guys should go do some celebrating yourself, man. One more day under our belts, guys. Take care. It works if we work it one day at a time. I am cheering you on, guys.